Good evening. We have Mr. Krish Dhanam, speaker, author, mentee of Zig Ziglar from Texas, USA. Let's welcome him.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Hello, sir. It's an honor to have you with us in this show, sir. First time I saw you was in Georgia Dome 2005, Robert Lowy program along with Zig Ziglar. And I still remember the entire packed auditorium went stand still when you spoke. One quote which you said, plan with attitude, prepare with aptitude. That's one thing which got stuck here always. Sir. Thank you so much for accepting to be with us in the show. So there are three segments in the show. First segment is about your story, your journey so far, lessons learned, whatever the challenges came and how you overcame it. That's the first segment. And then the second segment is about live your dream, and where we talk about the importance of dream, having a coach or a mentor in life, and it touches those areas. And the third one is a surprise segment. When we get, it's more lighter segment. When we get there, I'll tell you, sir. Now, who is Mr. Krish Dhanam? Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hari, for inviting me into your world and for allowing me to be a part of this process. Thank you for taking me down memory lane. The event you mentioned in Atlanta in 2005 was the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. There were 35,000 people that day in the auditorium. When we get to the second segment, maybe I'll share a story from there. But as my name shows, I'm Krish Dhanam. For those of you watching in India, I was born in Visakhapatnam. For those of you watching in other parts of the world, also, I was born in Visakhapatnam. That doesn't change. It's known as Vizag. It's called the City of Destiny. So I began my journey there and then went up north to Ghaziabad to do my MBA. There I met and fell in love with a young girl who's been my wife now for the last 34 years. She brought me to America in 1986, and this has been home since then. Along the way, I've had the privilege of being mentored, as it says, by Zig Ziglar. I went to work for him in 1990 and eventually became his vice president of global operations, traveled the world with him for 17 years, wrote some books with him, some curriculum for him, and that launched me on my own professional journey from 2006 onwards. I have been on my own as an independent. I own my own company. I'm a partner in another one. I have a ministry. I've written other books since then. Most of them are available on Amazon. But that's a snapshot. I grew up in India, came to the West, and then spent most of my time the last 35 years over here. But basically, I'm a speaker and a teacher. And during this time, I'm doing a lot of these Zoom conferences, so to speak. So I don't know if that's the amount of information you wanted, or Hari, if you want to add some more, we can add some more.
So the lessons learned during this journey so far, the challenges you faced and how you overcame it can be shared, sir.
Sure. Some of the lessons I learned during this thing, when I first came to the West, the accent was an issue. I wanted to be a communicator, so I had to relearn. So the three principles that are most important for those of you watching that I have learned in the last 35 years. First, always unlearn that which has not worked. Relearn that which has always worked, and learn that is what is needed to work. So first, unlearn what hasn't worked. I grew up in India, and I tell people I'm a victim of the Indian educational system. I'm not a product of it because I was not a good student. Nobody ever recognized it. And I was accustomed to book learning. I was always taught to compete. When I met Mr. Ziglar, he taught me how to complete. The difference between competition and completion is winning. When you compete, you're always put up against somebody with a different set of talent, a different set of experiences, a different background. Like I said, when I was going through my school days in India, they were very hard because I felt that I was never going to amount to anything because I did not have the smarts, the intellect to pass the exam. I was not a good test taker. And life is not a test. The first thing I learned, the first lesson I learned was life is not a test. It's never easy. There's no exam and it's ongoing. Every day you show up and you get a new score. And if the score is not good, you get a chance to come back and test yourself again. So the three principles I learned in this journey was first, unlearn what has not worked. And the two things that I realized because of the fact that I spent half my early part of my life in one place and another part of my life in another place, the first thing I learned I needed to unlearn was this: tradition is just tradition. It'll never be a strategy. I'm very traditional. I respect my father. I respected my late mother. I call my father every day. When I see my father-in-law, I'll touch his feet. I'll seek his blessing. I'm very traditional. But tradition is just tradition. I do not use tradition as a strategy. So the first thing I let go of was I started unlearning assumptions. Every assumption I had about what life was, I decided I would unlearn it. I would relearn what I needed to make sure that I was working on the things that mattered. So basic arithmetic is needed in life. 1 + 1 = 2. Advanced algebra was not. So I didn't need to focus on algebra and trigonometry to survive in life, but I needed basic mathematics. What do I mean by that? Life is formulaic. When you know why, anyhow will do. If you're only taught how, you will never understand the why and you'll never be motivated. So the number one thing is always ask yourself, why is something important to you? And when you know why, you'll find the formula. So unlearn what has not worked, relearn what has always worked, and then learn what is needed to work. So when I came to the West, one of the things I decided I would do is I would invest in learning things that mattered to me, not things that mattered to someone else. I wanted to learn things that would allow me to complete projects. Erstwhile, I was just learning to compete. So this learning took me down a path, and it took me down a path where now I have read probably at least one book every week now for the last 27 years. I wake up every day at 4 o'clock with a desire to learn. And as a result of that, it is very vital. So those three principles I hope will help as far as the journey: unlearn what has not worked, relearn what has always worked, and learn what you need to work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now we move on to the main segment, which is Live Your Dream. Uh, I remember when you came out to the stage when you said about the American dream, and please go ahead with that story, sir, because that's definitely. I still remember the salute which you gave to the entire crowd, and I know when you came and when you started. I would please you over to you, sir.
Okay. What Dr. Hari is talking about is that when I spoke at the Georgia Dome, now here's an important thing about the American dream for me. I came to the West in search of a dream. So there are two things I needed to do right away. One, I needed to honor the place I have arrived at. Many people go somewhere else and all they do is find everything that is wrong over there. Gratitude, Hans Selye, the great stress specialist, said gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions, anger the most destructive. So I'm very grateful for the privileges I've had in America. America has its faults, just like any other place. But when I go into an arena, when I go someplace where American soldiers are present, I always ask them to stand so I can salute them, because these are the people who fought for the freedom of this nation. You don't need to like it to appreciate it. You do not need to always be appreciative of everything, but you have to have fundamental gratitude. The principle here is this: always have something to look up to, a God above. Always have something to be proud of, the land you stand on. And always be grateful for the people you can lean on. This is your family. So if you look up, stand on, and lean on, you'll be successful. So my American dream was built on that. I came here with very little money. I had great opportunity along the way. But my definition of success, that is probably the most important thing for those of you watching. Success is not who you are in relation to where you began or who you began with. Success is going to where success is and hoping by sheer centripetal force you're pulled in. What do I mean by that? Success is uncomfortable. Success is distant. Success is usually fleeting. Most of us are not afraid of failure. Most of us seem to be afraid of success because failure does not ask you to change. Success always asks you to change. Did that help?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Now we'll start with why it is important for a person to have a dream, and
Uh-huh.
in the due course having a dream and then plan and then having a coach, how it helps person to
Sure.
understand who he or she is, and then how do they develop. We'll touch on that area, sir.
Sure. John F. Kennedy, one of the presidents of the United States, said, a dream is just, goals are just dreams with feet. Everybody has dreams. Everybody have dreams, which means everybody watching this, everybody who watch this later, including my 86-year-old father, who said he'll watch the link tomorrow. My dad listens to all my podcasts. He tries to come on all my things. And my dad has had dreams. But the difference between a dream and a goal is what happens when you're awake. A dream is what you do when you're asleep. And if you have a really good dream, it'll keep you from sleeping because your really healthy dreams keep you from sleeping. But if what you do when you're awake is the goal, is its manifestation. And I remember one time when I was sitting, my father was watching one of my seminars in India, in Hyderabad. He was 75 years at that time. And I made a statement. When your obligations to others finish, your obligations to your dreams remain, which means the fundamental purpose of dreams is they are always personal and they always have a preference to you, which means you have to be selfish about your dreams. That doesn't mean you have to be immoral about them. That doesn't mean you have to be unjust about them, but you have to be selfish about your dreams because you have great potential. So the first time I was taught the process of dreams was by my late mentor, Mr. Ziglar. When he looked at me one day and he says, do you want to be a national champion? Do you want to be someone who can reach the very top? I said, absolutely. He says, I can take you there if you will just listen to me. And my first response was, I can't imagine doing what you do. And his response changed my outlook. He said, if you can't imagine, you'll never do it. And that's the precursor to having a really successful dream. If your dream is to write a book, you have to imagine signing thousands of books. It may never happen. But here's why dreams fail. Most people aim low and hit. When you have really God-sized dreams, you'll aim high and miss. If you aim high and miss, you'll hit a whole bunch of other things you never dreamt about along the way. So when you dream to stand in front of 35,000 people, automatically you'll be standing in front of 400 people because your subconscious will not allow you to fail on two levels. So have God-sized dreams, have big-sized dreams, So when I first started writing goals, they began on a dream sheet. I wanted to be a speaker who speaks in 50 countries. That's a dream I wrote. I've now spoken in 75. I wanted to write 5 books. I've done that. I wanted to be on 5 continents. I've been on 6. I wanted to do X, Y, Z. Now, out of the 50 goals I wrote down that day, 45 have come to pass, which means there is a discipline. So the difference between a dream and a manifested goal is the bar of discipline that you constantly refine and you constantly repurpose. And so that's the narrative of dreams. But if you have some specific questions on there, maybe I can guide you through story and all that. So,
So now with the dream and with the support of a coach or a mentor, we would start approaching towards that. And
sure.
of course, during the process, what should be the mindset and what should be the mind frame?
Sure. Getting a mentor, and I think this is a really good question, Dr. Hari, that you cannot have one mentor in all areas of your life. You need to find mentors that can finance or can facilitate each of your dreams. So I have mentors who guide me purely spiritually. I have mentors who guide me professionally. I have mentors who guide me financially. I have business mentors who are much younger than me, but they have run very successful businesses. So age is never an issue to get mentoring. This we need to get out of our head. You can be mentored by someone younger than you because they have a different set of talents and expertise that allows them to be excellent. Now, I'm talking to a man who's a disaster management expert. He's received awards and accolades in that. His whole genre has been built on disaster management. If you follow him on Facebook, I know of him and I know what he does. Now, that doesn't mean that you would come to me for disaster management experience. By the same token, he's also an expert in bamboo biryani, but if you ask him, he'll tell you he's a better expert at disaster management than he is at bamboo biryani. So he would tell you, don't come to me for biryani advice. I hired cooks and I had a concept. They did it in Singapore. But am I right on that?
Yes, yes, yes.
You're just shocked that I know that much about you, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, that's the other component of learning and growing. You have to be aware. Before today's call, before today's method, I spent a lot of time on his websites and went back through some of the pictures he had sent me when at different times we have met, when we met at Hindustan University. It's important. John Maxwell, who has been a mentor of mine, I only met him once, said it this way. The number one goal of mentoring is you should always be able to tell a story that they told you that changed their life. Second, you should always be able to tell their story to them because they changed your life, and then tell their story to others so another life can be changed. So the story always will have three parts to it, and it's important. So most of my mentors are people who I've had great personal relationship with, but we have also had great stories. I've had stories when they first met me. I've had stories when they introduced me. And I've had stories when, after they went on, I told to others. So mentoring is a process that really revolutionizes the way you live. If you're looking for a mentor to give you a skill so that you can be better at your job, you'd be better off getting a coach. A coach can tell you how to refine your game so that you can excel at it. A mentor will tell you how to shape a life. So not only can you replicate it, you can duplicate it, and then you can enhance it as well.
So in this process, there's also this what if, and then this fear factor. What are the basic tips or one should undergo, or a daily regimen, like, where they could constant, because that's going to definitely come in different scenarios or different stages. So how should we embrace it and then move on?
Well, the number one thing is fear and faith have the same definition. They are both based on the unknowable and the unquantifiable. Yet most of us who have fear have a tremendous amount of faith. We can't prove anything. We live by the belief that we cannot see, but we know it exists. So it's important that we address our fears the same way as we would address our faith. There is no such thing as anticipatory grief. What do I mean by that? All of us are afraid of something that will happen tomorrow, yet when it happens tomorrow, we will grieve differently. So we can never let our fears paralyze us. Fear, according to Mr. Ziglar, failure, which is why people are afraid, they're afraid of success, so they actually embrace failure. Mr. Ziglar said, failure has always been an event. It has never been a person. You can fail at something. You cannot fail as someone. So don't look at fear irrationally. Look at fear through the same lens as you would look at faith. You say, I believe in God, or I believe in a power, and I believe in something that guides my conscience. By the same token, you have to believe that there are solutions for everything you're afraid of. For example, this pandemic we're going through right now, half the people are afraid because of ignorance, and the other half of the people are causing fear because of their arrogance. But neither of them do realize the fact that this has never happened before on the global scale. Actually, it has, but this is the first time we are fighting a virus on TV. So everybody knows everything about everything every minute, so they're paralyzed. Dr. Hari asked me this question: how do you overcome the fear of this moment during this global shutdown? I limit my news intake to 10 minutes in the morning just to get caught up on what happened yesterday. I want to be wise to the world to see if there's an impending typhoon or a cyclone or something else. I look at the weather. And then I want to see if some of the unrest and some of the unhappiness or some of the contagion has spread to my neighborhood. If it's still within a certain distance that I can manage, I don't let it bother my day. Here's the thing. Tomorrow will come and it will have its own problems. You can, Mr. Ziglar always taught me this. He says, you can let your fear beat you or you can let it teach you. We need to learn at this time, because when it happens again, not if, when it happens again, you need to be at the front leading and not at the back following. Because everybody giving out advice out there is neither an expert nor qualified to give expertise on it. It's like a group of doctors were talking and they said, we have invested our whole life to research, but these Facebook people seem to have a good idea. If you're getting your advice from Facebook, you're going to be afraid for the rest of your life. So, back to you, Dr. Hari. Did he get cut off? Do I need? Okay, well, maybe I'll keep talking till he joins us. The other component on dreams that should take the fear away is this. Make sure you have dreams that are manageable. Make sure you have goals that are bite-sized. What do I mean by that? Have long-range goals that are goals that will take you more than 2 to 3 years to accomplish. Have short-range goals that will take you under a year to accomplish, and have some immediate goals that can be accomplished in less than a month. You have to learn activity and be good at activity. But remember, don't confuse activity with accomplishment. Accomplishment is different than the activity. That accomplishment is the peak you will arrive at. Activity is what you do. And most of the time, I think we confuse activity with accomplishment, and that's what confuses us. So,
thank you, sir. Sorry, line got cut. So,
no, that's,
so the next question is,
as my friend in Bangalore would say, anytime there's a problem in India, we say spelling mistake. Tell me.
Okay. So the next area is, okay, now I have a dream, and then I have a mentor, and he or she is guiding me. Now I'm moving on, and then I've done whatever it takes to reach the goal, but still sometimes I'm not able to touch it. So how do I change my approach? What should be the mind frame at that point, sir? Like, I've done whatever it takes, but still I'm not able to get there. So what should I do at that point?
Well, this is called goal achieving. Goal setting is easy. Everybody has goals, but goal achieving is a little harder. For goal achieving, there are many formula out there, but the one I have always used is a goal that you pursue. You always have to believe you belong. So when I looked at people who were at the very height of the speaking profession, I didn't want to compete with them. I wanted to believe I belong. So when I'm on a big stage with a person who's a president or a CEO of a company, at that particular moment, we are both speakers. He's not going to, he doesn't have $1 billion balance sheet next to him. He may run $1 billion company, but right next to me, he's a speaker who's going to speak for 20 minutes. A football star who has thrown a football touchdown in a Super Bowl is not going to throw a touchdown on that stage. He has to speak for 20 minutes. So wherever you are in life, and whoever you're next to in life, believe you belong. At that particular moment, in God's divine ordination, you are equal. Now, this contagion has done something unique for us. Since none of us can be physically present anywhere in the world, and we are all watching, we're all equal. So there's not one of us better. But that's the number one principle for goal achieving. So when this contagion started, I was in the country of Albania, and I had to scramble back to the US. But as soon as we got here, the first thing I did was I called my team together and I said, we need to believe that we can be the best experts coming out of this. If we don't, we'll lose. Now, what I meant by that was, anytime opportunity presents itself, enthusiastic amateurs are a dime a dozen. Everybody becomes a Facebook expert. Everybody becomes a Zoom expert. Everybody becomes a TV expert. But experienced professionals will always stay at the back saying, I'm also here. And then the companies that scroll through will say, okay, what's the difference between the enthusiastic amateur? The enthusiastic amateur will wear a nice shirt, but they'll wear a lungi or shorts or something like that because they're on TV only till here. And the reason I'm sharing this is when I do a 4 a.m. Zoom, I get up, I take a shower, I wear a full set of clothes like I would a business meeting. I wear my shoes even if I'm doing it in the house. And there's a reason for that. Mr. Ziglar said, until you join internally, you believe that you are always ready. And the camera, see, he taught me that the lights are always on, the camera is always rolling. So for a midnight Zoom call or a 4 o'clock Zoom call, I will always dress up as if it's a full day's work. And there's a principle behind that. I don't have to worry if an accident may happen. What if I stand up suddenly and I forgot, like some people do? Or what if the background is not nice and someone walks by? So most of the times I'll leave my house and come to my office studio at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and it's uncomfortable. And that's the number one principle to understand in goal achieving. Anything that is comfortable never challenges you. Anything that challenges you always forces you to find new knowledge. Anything that forces you to find new knowledge gives you a new skill. Anything that gives you a new skill allows you to advance. So anything that makes you comfortable allows you to advance.
So when it comes to actually, okay, now with the overcoming fear and whatever dream I had, now I achieved it. Initially, when you mentioned about like people are afraid of success, once they have reached what they wanted to succeed or what they want to touch, now what next? Like, how do they have to accept it, and then how do they move on to the next goal?
Yeah, anytime you arrive, let's say life is a scale of 1 to 10, and you set a goal at number 3, and you've now arrived at number 6. Number 6 needs to become your new 1.
Correct.
So when you go from 6 to 10, you're actually only going from 1 to 4 in your new growth. Two things happen. You're raising your foundation, but you're also extending the horizon. You never see a goal properly set is only a journey thoroughly enjoyed because it gives you new opportunities. So anytime you achieve something, raise your foundation, extend the horizon. That way you'll just not be on the go, you'll always be on the grow. On the go versus on the grow.
So I would like to touch on that plan with attitude, that part, sir. Like
Sure.
that actually, after you say that quote, and then what should be a person's approach when they see life or any goal in life?
Sure. And the quote Dr. Hari is talking about is a quote that's attributed to me. And I'll first tell you the quote and then I'll explain it. It says, plan with attitude, prepare with aptitude, participate with servitude, receive with gratitude, and that should separate you from the multitudes. So plan with attitude is will. Attitude is always the will, the desire to. Prepare with aptitude is skill. You need both will, which is confidence, and skill, which is competence. So plan with attitude, prepare with aptitude, participate with servitude. This is humility. If you follow me on Facebook at Krish Dhanam or whatever, any of the social media, I recently posted something of servant leadership. So servitude is humility. So plan with attitude, prepare with aptitude, participate with servitude, receive with gratitude. Gratitude is honorable. You always have to be grateful for that which you've gotten. And if you do those four, that will separate you from the multitudes. The principle we use is 97% of the people in this world operate in the comfort zone. 3% of the people in this world operate in the effective zone. The difference between comfort and effectiveness is called growth, and growth is uncomfortable. So I'm a big proponent of being uncomfortable, because only when you're uncomfortable do you grow. So plan with attitude, prepare with aptitude, participate with servitude, receive with gratitude, and that should be enough to separate you from the multitudes.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, we'll touch on the importance of celebrating success, because most of us are more focused on achieving, and after that, setting another goal and then moving on. But then some of us forget to celebrate those successes on the way. So, importance of celebrating the success, sir.
The best way to celebrate success is find someone else that can that can be close to you, in the sense that Adrian Rogers, one of the mentors I had in the theological sense, I never met him, but I've listened to many of his messages. Adrian Rogers always said, learn as if you will live forever, teach as if you will die tomorrow. And so what I do is I celebrate success by always teaching. For those of you who know me, I always respond right away. I answer most of my emails, and this is just a habit. It takes a little effort to constantly reply, and then I have people who will do the other components of it, stuff that we get at our company. Other people can manage some of those things. But a majority of the interaction that requires that one-on-one, hey, I want to be mentored by him, or I want him to give me some advice, anybody who reaches out to me, I always say yes. I may not always have immediate time, but I don't think there are people out there who can come by and tell you, that Krish did not respond to me. So the number one rule of success is the more successful you get, the more approachable you need to be, the more humility you will attain as a result of that being approachable, the more humble you become, the more your success will resonate as something that you deserve. And that's more important. Success is not about achievement. People need to believe that this person truly deserved that because they are not jealous, they're not envious, they're always giving. So that success is humility. This I learned from Ravi Zacharias, one of my mentors. Most approachable man. He takes a picture with everybody. He responds to every email. And that's true genius. Genius, they say genius has been described as the ability to focus on the task at hand. And truly successful people always focus on the ripples, everything that's in front of them. They're visionaries, but they always take care of the thing in front of them. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Now, with this scenario of lockdown and COVID globally, when it comes to imparting knowledge, where it used to be when we are physically present, now it has become mostly virtual. How do you impact people now? So, because before you address large gatherings and then you visit institutions and organizations to impart knowledge and to help them achieve their goals or help them be inspired about what they want to achieve in life.
Yeah, in physical
on-site and certain virtual areas.
Yeah, in physical interaction, the memory remembers more in a physical interaction than they do in a virtual interaction. So in a virtual interaction, the time frame of impact is compressed. That's why television breaks for commercial every 7 to 9 minutes, because people will only endure about 7 minutes before they need a release. Yeah, so what I tell people is that in this time, for your loved ones, you talked about your mother earlier on in the show prep, but I call my dad every day, and it's at the same time. My father is 86. He's very regimented because he says, I'm 86 years old. I need discipline in my life for whatever time I have. I don't want to, he's just that way. Because he's disciplined, I call him at the same time every day. That does two things. I'm dependable, but I'm also creating in him a programmed expectation of hope. Now, when I was 7 years old, my dad made me make him a promise when we were quite poor. One day I said something and he laughed amidst our hardship. And he said, son, promise me you will always make me laugh. So every day I try to tell my father something funny. I talk to him for about 8 to 10 minutes, and I try to make my father laugh every day. That's discipline. So what I'm asking you to do who are watching is, for the loved ones, increase the frequency of your interaction, because humanity was never designed for isolation. We were designed for community. The thing we miss more than ever is a warm smile, a warm hug, an embrace, the feeling of physical companionship of people next to each other, shaking hands, putting hands on shoulders like we used to walk when we were students. We miss that. So one of the things I do is every day I text 5 people from my phone, starting with A, and I'll just go through it as best as I can remember. And it'll simply say, hope you're well, prayers and blessings. You don't need to respond, just thought of you. Usually they'll call back. This is the first time they say, all the phone companies in America thought that their their internet usage would go up. And that's why they gave us extended data plans and all that during this time. They said, if you have 2 gig, we're giving you 4 gig. But no, the number of calls went up because people are actually talking to telemarketers now because they want to talk to somebody. So I would encourage you to physically talk to somebody first. Second, try to make someone else happy. Make that a goal. Try to make someone else happy. Within your house, every day do something for someone that they could do themselves. So if your son needs a cold drink or something from the fridge that usually he gets at 3 in the afternoon, it's not a bad idea if you as a father get up and do that. If your wife has always made you tea or the husband's always made the wife tea, reverse it. But this is a good principle. Every day, do something for someone in your house that they could have done themselves. And these will motivate us during these dark times.
Thank you, sir. Regarding the course packages which you offered to the people who are in need of, like, about the discipline, about legacy, can you touch on those areas, sir?
Yeah, I have some programs, and all of them are available at skylifesuccess.com. You can either do that or do info at skylifesuccess, and Shelley will get them to you. But what we did during this time is we created outlines on legacy, on architecture of discipline, on searching for hope in turbulent times, on sales, on service. I'm writing a white paper right now with my colleague, Shelley, and it's called Liberation During Lockdown, where we look at what you need to do, when you need to do it, where you need to do it, how you will do it, and all of those things. So all of these tools we made available that we do as virtual seminars for organizations. Here's the principle. There are always going to be 2 kinds of people in your world, actually 3. They're going to be the people at the very high end who will always give you your reward because of your expertise. So there are people who will always pay me because I have a 30-year track record. School districts will call me and I get paid to do a lot of stuff. I'm not worried about it. There'll always be people who will give you your due. There are always new markets you have to look for. So these are people you have to adjust what you will take and what you will give. But there's always a cadre of people who cannot afford to pay you. So here, if you do the right thing at the right time, amazing things will happen. Accept freely those that want to gift to you. Negotiate with those that you think you need, and generously give to those who don't have it for themselves. You practice those 3 principles, and amazingly, your structure, your ideas, your brilliance, your attitude, everything will begin to change.
Thank you, sir. Now we move on to the third segment, the lighter segment, okay, where I'll give you certain situations and you can be creative on that. First situation is you come from your office and then you have dinner, you go to bed. Next day morning when you get up, author, speaker, Mr. Krish Dhanam has become governor of Texas. So what are the 3 areas, 3 sectors would he intervene and why? What would be the intervention?
The first thing I would do is I would emphasize the need for education that is standard, which means I am not going to diminish someone's ability to learn. I'm not going to admonish the people who can't learn, but I will insist on some amount of learning for everybody. That's non-negotiable. Education is always going to be when people understand why. If you just want to teach them your existing curriculum, it's always about how. I'm a big why guy. I want people to know why they need to learn. If you want to get out of poverty, you don't need to be rich. You just need to understand how to make 2 + 2 4. You need to, I had $9 when I came to America. My goal my first year in America was not to write a book. My goal my first year in America was to make $10. You know, if you want to be a millionaire, you first need to aspire for 10,000. Then you can get to 100,000 and eventually $1 million. So so my first goal is education, because education will teach you why. The second is apprenticeship, which means those that do not want to get an education will not be forced to, but you will be encouraged to learn a trade. So I work with a lot of home service companies that these people, all their tradesmen make $80,000, $100,000 a year. Most of them have not been to college. They come out of the military or they do something else, and 24, 25, they just go learn a trade. So there are many apprentice universities out here. So first would be education. Second would be mastering. Here my thought process. I want people to have the will to learn. I want people to have the skill to earn. I want them to have the will to learn. I
Learn
want them to
and
have the skill to
the
earn.
skill.
But the third thing I will is not something that you can change. But the third thing is that I would encourage people to read biographies on the corporate level. And let me explain what I mean. I really find it fascinating that in most countries I go to, the number of people who read about their own nation, everybody has an opinion, but their opinion is usually short lived. I'm not, there are other people who tackle issues like environment and global warming. For me, I'm not that smart. I don't think of global warming or cooling. I think of seasons. When winter comes, I wear a sweater. When summer comes, I wear a t-shirt. When monsoon comes, I have an umbrella. When spring comes, I take a vacation. I'm very simple. I mean, I'm not complex. There are other people who can deal with that. But if I had leadership and if I know how mentors work for me, I would start to challenge assumptions. I would start to respect the traditions that work, abandon the one. So education is important, empowerment is important, enrichment is important. Now, one thing that helped me in America, Dr. Hari, is I learned American history while I was still in India. So one of the things I would encourage people to have is something called future skill attitude. This is something you cannot teach, but it is something that you can explain. Which means I always want people to be ready for where they are going to arrive, not greedy for where they are.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, the next surprise question is: you're given a time machine, and you go back to your 20-year-old version of yourself, and what would you tell Mr. Krish Dhanam of 2020? What would he tell the 20-year-old version?
The two things. One is if I answered the question, would I change anything about my youth? Answer is no, because I am the sum total of my experiences and I like where I am. This is the Billy Graham response. But if I had to encourage my 20-year-old self and give them a new goal, I would tell them to dream bigger dreams. I dreamt very small dreams. And when I realized that it took me as long as it did to get to where I am, most of the people I mentor now, I mentor them with bigger dreams. I tell them, here's the one principle I said: don't be afraid to fail. Failure will always teach you, it won't beat you. Man can fail at something, you cannot fail as someone. I truly believe God loves his creation that much. And so I would tell my 20-year-old self to dream bigger dreams. My self-image was not very good. I was always an overweight kid, never athletic, never got good grades. So I was a bookworm, kind of nerdy guy. Nobody would like me kind of thing. So I perfected the gift of the gab. I'd win debates, but I was arrogant. I was arrogant because I was afraid. I was arrogant because I was scared. I was a bully because I truly didn't think that I would succeed. And what I would work on more than anything else, not just for me, but everybody my age when I was growing up, is self-image. That you would see, Mr. Ziglar's quote was, "Man was designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of greatness." I wish someone had told me that when I was 7 and 8, that the God of all creation had a plan for me.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The next question is: you have a magical wand with which you can change one thing in the world immediately, even before this program finishes. It will change with one swish. What would you change, sir?
The ability to switch off the TV. There's a community in the US that doesn't watch TV, and one guy asked the other, "How come we don't have COVID?" They said, "Because we don't have TV." So if you watch TV, this is all we're getting today. 99%. They don't tell you that 0.1% of the people are dying. They don't tell you that 99.8% of the people will live. They only tell you how many are infected. They don't tell you how many people leave the hospital. They only tell you how many are going in. So, what happens is It's that old thing. At some point, you cannot just announce death rate. You have to announce birth rate too, because they're two opposite ends of the spectrum. So, that's the one thing I think I would switch off, and maybe tongue in cheek. There are some things the nation doesn't want to know. Some things I don't want to know, and I don't care how loud they shout. So,
Okay.
as my mentor,
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Ramesh Richard says, the only vision some people have is television. So I think that'll be my number one rule. But we've got 700 channels, so I don't think people will ever get bored. But on a serious note, when this contagion started, I normally wake up at 5 in the morning. When this started, I started waking up at 4 in the morning. And someone said, why? I said, I've always been uncomfortable. I always think discipline is birthed out of being uncomfortable. But if the playing field is leveled, I wanted to have a 1 hour advantage again. Since the playing field was level and everybody is now on Zoom, I wanted to have a 1 hour advantage. So I wake up at 4. I go for my workout at 5 as opposed to 6. I go to bed earlier than I used to. But here's the principle. Your billionaire and your broke guy on the street both have the same number of hours in the day, 24. Neither of them has a bigger day. The Ambanis of the world do not have more hours to spend their money, and the poor people don't have less hours to earn it. We all have the same amount of time.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now we move on to the gratitude segment. Who
Okay.
you owe your success to? You can please name them and pay your gratitude
Sure.
to them, sir.
Some years ago on my website, I used to have a wall of gratitude, but the number of people on my wall of gratitude, I can probably count them. Professionally, the person I owe the most in the last 15 years is a gentleman by the name of Victor Abraham. He is my friend, my mentor. I call him my Barnabas. He has been the greatest encouragement to me when I've been down and the greatest provider to me when I needed a hand. Mr. Ziglar was my career and my spiritual mentor, my guide, who taught me everything I know. Communication-wise, I have two mentors. One was the late Dr. Adrian Rogers, who taught me from whom I learned the art of communication. So if you go back and listen to this, you'll see I always have 3 points. I have 2 ideas, and I always try to connect the dots. I learned that from Dr. Adrian Rogers. My desire to be intellectually a little more advanced, I owe to Dr. Ravi Zacharias, because through him, I went back and studied ancient history, philosophy, culture, civilizations to understand why some people are motivated and some not. Obviously, my bride of 34 years has been my greatest insight champion. Without her, I'd be nobody. My son has taught me a lot in his own journey. So my bride and my son, I count them as one. My late mother and my father were students who taught a lot to me. My father got his PhD at the age of 83. My mother got her master's at the age of 75 before she passed away at the age of 77. My mother-in-law was my spiritual guide who prayed for me for 7 years. So she was on my wall of gratitude. My good friend, I have a couple of good friends who I meet with every Thursday for breakfast. They would be in that category. Miss Laurie Majors is my American mother. She edited a lot of my work in the early days when I was writing. She would edit all my work and make it. And most recently, Shelley Kurian has fit into that category as the chief performance architect for our company. She is one of the people I'm the most grateful for. So when I look at my personal and professional mentors and my pastor, Dr. Richard Plunk, and I can go on, but these names of about 20 to 22 men and women, without them, I would be not your speaker today, and nobody would invite me anywhere. I am 0, they are 100. They literally made me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And if you consider your life as a book, of course, there are many chapters there, much more, thousands and lakhs of people to be impacted. You're going to touch many lives. But so far, the number of pages you have flipped, if you see that, what is one topmost learning of your life, sir?
One thing that I have learned is that if you're consistent, you will be good. You will take your constructive criticism in the same way you take your destructive criticism. Let me explain that. When you're consistent, I don't believe when they write good things about me. I don't react when they write bad things about me because I'm consistent. I go to bed thanking God for the privilege. I wake up thanking God for the honor. And so I'm consistent. Man is tri-dimensional. We are mental, physical, and spiritual. And if you're consistent in each of those three areas of your life, you don't have to react when people say wrong things about you. You don't have to respond when they say good things about you. You can just go about doing the things you do.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And most this was a dream come true a moment for me, sir, to share screen with you. When I saw you in 2004, 2005, and then when I saw you again in Hindustan University, and when I started this, I was having you in mind. As you said, like I was a little bit hesitant, but then I messaged you, and immediately you responded. And what you said when a person touches height, whatever you explained, you did, sir. Like you responded immediately, and then you gave the date, and then the communication and all those things. I'm truly humbled that you were in this show, sir. And one time I couldn't, I mean, like, see, by the time I saw 12 minutes, and then suddenly I saw 50th minute. So it went in a swish. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And any closing remarks from you, sir?
No, I appreciate you saying those nice words and appreciate you remembering me. And I'm really grateful that even though you saw me first in 2005 when I was at the start of my career, then you saw me at Hindustan University when I was in the middle point. Now I'm in the giving. I'm 58 years old, so maybe I got another 10, 12 years of doing this. I'm really grateful, and this is my prayer that when you achieve great heights, and you will, I know, just watching your career, that you'll still remember to invite me when I'm 70 years old.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
God bless. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, sir.
Okay.
That was Mr. Krish Dhanam from Texas. I met sir in 2005, as he said, in Georgia Dome, Atlanta, and I owe whatever I've learned. Uh, I'm in the beginning of my training career, but then whatever I've learned, whatever quotes he told at that point actually stuck with me, and at every stage, I refer to his quotes or I refer to his speeches to get more inspiration. And I also share that with other colleges where I go or other platforms I speak. He is one person I've always leaned upon, which he said during his session, like, to look for inspiration or to get some kind of mentorship. Directly and indirectly, people touch our lives. Even though I'm not in regular touch with him, but indirectly, I feel he's guiding me, and I'm really thankful for that. Thank you.